Hi, my name is Jake Boston-Kemper, Director of Agronomy and Research here at Liqui-Grow.
Hi, I'm Katie Hess, Director of Sales and Marketing here at Liqui-Grow. Dr. Jake, harvest has started in some spots here. In fact, on my way to this field, I followed a combine that had just came from a field. So it's here. But you know what that means? It also means that we start talking more about soil sampling. So, you know, we can composite soil, we can grid sample, we can even use our pattern ag vendor. And that is helpful if you want to know more of like soybean cyst nematodes or
rootworm populations.
Yep, rootworm populations. Ask us more if you want to know more about that. But it's so dry is in most of our geography. Is it worth it to be out taking soil samples this fall?
Yeah, in most of our geography, it has gotten fairly dry now, so the soil's pretty dry. And what you're going to find if you go ahead and take soil samples now, don't be surprised if soil pH comes back lower than you would expect it to. And don't be surprised if soil test potassium comes back lower than you would expect it to. And I think there's a couple things you can do. You can either wait a little bit here to see if we get some moisture, or you can use old samples to make fertilizer decisions for the fall of 2023 here. And I actually think using old samples is probably going to be more accurate than using new ones that are inaccurate, right? So yes, soil test levels have probably changed some. Let's say it was 2, 3, 4 years ago when you did it. Clearly they may have changed some, but typically they don't change all that dramatically, okay? So I think the likelihood of those samples being more accurate than ones you would take now are higher. So wait for it to rain or use old soil tests would be my recommendation.
You mentioned wait for it to rain, but if we're used to a fall schedule, could you even push it out and just do spring sampling next year after, even after you've planted, you can get out and spring sample?
Yeah, you definitely can spring sample. The problem though with spring sampling is you're going to tend to see, in particular, you're going to tend to see potassium levels be elevated because the potassium would have time to leach out of the crop. So there's nothing wrong with spring sampling, but what you really need to do is you need to get on a schedule. Either do it in the fall or do it in the spring. So if you switch to spring sampling now, that's fine, but continue doing it in the spring from there on out.
Do you want to tell the folks, I mean, this is rare of me to say this, but Dr. Jake, would you like to tell the folks a little bit more about why K is tied up and why you see less available in a dry weather?
No, that's fine. The reason I'm kind of being a little bit wishy-washy about this is it really depends on the soil, right? So generally speaking, soils that have more clay in them are going to tend to show larger differences when it's dry, right? So what happens with potassium is, you can imagine all these clay lattices in the soil. And when it's wet, those clay lattices kind of open up on the end, expand, and let potassium out. But when it's dry, those clay lattices really collapse and they can trap that potassium inside. So what you're going to find is your soil test K levels tend to be a little bit lower because they're collapsed and they're stuck inside those clay particles.
Well, thanks for that, Dr. Jake. And if you have any other questions, please reach out to your Liqui-Grow sales rep. We'd love to help you. Have a great day.
Stay in the know with Liqui-Grow.